As the temperatures drop, it's time to put the garden to bed. So Frankie Flowers is back. You've got some tips for us, some advice so that they survive the winter, the shrubs and our plants.
And also that we're preparing them in a way that they're not going to get damaged by freezing rain, heavy wet snow, all those things that we love.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Things. So number one question, what do you think it is that I get asked at this time of year?
How do I put my flowers, my pretty flowers, to bed?
Yeah, and it also comes down to hydrangeas.
Hydrangeas. I love them too.
Yeah, I do too. So there's two different varieties of hydrangeas, and you got to be really careful when it comes to putting them to bed. You can see how they get really tall. They have their big flowers sometimes that are on them. Well, these can break and fall over. So there's certain varieties that you really just want to chop right back. This is what's called the piculata, which is sometimes the PGs, Annabellas. Those smaller leaf hydrangeas are the ones that you just want to cut right back. And by doing this, they bloom on new wood next year, so there's no fear. You just cut it right back.
Because that makes me very nervous.
Right? Isn't that pretty?
That's what. Thank you. It's just beautiful. But that's what you've got to do. You cut them all back.
Unless the large leaf hydrangeas, which are the macrophyllas. A lot of the times they're the pink, the blue flowers, and we can see that flower that's there. These bloom on old wood. So what I recommend with these varieties is all you're going to be doing is just removing those flower heads, because those flower heads are the ones that can collect snow and fall over and cause damage. Then we're going to just leave it like this, and next spring we're just going to remove any dead wood.
Okay.
So these are the varieties. The large leaf macrophylla are the ones that you want to leave. Okay, so it's really important.
If you know which variety you have.
Yeah, if you don't, then you're not going to have flowers next year.
No, you won't.
Yeah, so that's really important. Now, roses are also something that people ask about. The hybrid teas roses are grafted, and a graft point that's right at the bottom is an area that's really weak. And with that, we need to give it some extra shelter. So many times what you'll do is you'll hill soil up around it, and you'll use what's called a rose collar to go around, and that's where the soil will all collect, and that'll create some insulation.
Yes.
That one there I don't think looks too attractive.
No.
But something that will blend into kind of the landscape are just these bigger rose hoods that go right over the top.
Right.
And if that was planted, it would just sit on the top, you prune it back. This is going to provide extra protection, keep the critters away from it as well. And a lot of the times you want to put a stone on the top.
So it doesn't fly away.
You got it. It doesn't fly away.
They should make those in the green color. Do they have those in green?
There are some different ones that are Halloween that actually have pumpkins on them, and even some that looks like trees. So there's different options that you can do.
Right.
Evergreens. When it comes to evergreens in winter, we want to keep them well watered all the way through to when the snow flies.
Okay.
Because we're worried about moisture being lost. So you know how in the wintertime we get cracked skin and things like that? Well, sunshine, wind, cold temperatures pulls moisture away, and that's when you get the browning. That's why a lot of the times you'll be using a burlap, and a lot of the times it's best just to put 4 posts around and then wrap the posts with the burlap.
Yeah.
The burlap protects it from the wind, but also shades it from the sun.
Oh, I see.
So those are super important. So when you're overwintering, especially if you have white siding and you have an evergreen, you need to cover it up, because that white siding reflects the light, and that reflection of light will draw moisture away from the plant.
Okay.
And then
so shrubs as well? That would be for shrubs as well?
Shrubs are going to be underneath the snow.
Okay.
Anything that's above the snow that's going to be exposed.
Yeah.
So most pyramidal evergreens.
Got it.
A lot of cedars, if they've been around for some time, the cedars you'll see will split open like that. And that's when you're going to be using a winter wrap that you're wrapping around that holds that plant nice and tight.
Yeah.
So you're going to do it nice and tight around. But what it also does is allow air to go through, and it holds it tight so it's not going to be bent over by heavy wet snow.
I see. So it doesn't split.
And those are really the keys. Outside of that, when it comes to your perennials, this is the time of year that you want to clean up any diseased leaves.
Yeah.
So any leaves that you have sitting around like this that we have that are fallen, you can see that there is actually a few little signs of disease on the black spot of those leaves. We want to clean that all up, and by cleaning it up, putting it away, we're not going to have any disease spores that are sitting around to cause problems for next year.
So you mean like the leaves, like just the leaves that have fallen all over your yard and everything? You need to get rid of those diseased leaves?
If they're clean, you can keep them and mulch them, use them in the garden.
Yes.
If there's disease, you want to discard them, put them on the curb, and let municipalities pick them up for you. Because if you have a whole bunch of leaves all over the place, that's disease spore, disease, disease, you're just going to get that back again next year.
Sounds like a job for the kids.
It does sound like a job for the kids.
Guys, go through those leaves and just separate the diseased ones.
Yeah, separate.
Separate them. And then we're going to put those away, and the good ones we're going to mulch.
You were my parents. I am a product of child labor. That's how I know all this stuff. It's like, hey.
And you're a hard worker, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else we need to know about putting? Is there anything that you don't need to worry about this time of year?
Hardy perennials.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, there's many things that you can get away with.
Yeah.
Really key is we've had a lot of moisture in my area, but if you had a dry season, make sure you're watering, because if they go into winter under stress, being dry, then you're going to have a big issue of them overwintering. But if they're in the right place,
yes,
they're hardy to your zone,
yes,
and they're planted right and they're well established, you really don't have a whole lot to worry about.
Is there a plant or a flower that you get every year from your followers that does not make it?
There's some.
What are the toughest ones?
Roses can be very tough.
Okay.
Some hydrangea varieties, and many people forget that if it's a hibiscus, a bougainvillea, if it's a palm, those are tropical plants that have to come back in. Sometimes they just think they'll live out there.
No.
Yeah, and they're like, no, they're dead. So you gotta, they're dead.
They're done. They're not meant for a colder climate. Yeah. So, and a lot of people that are using the tropicals outside now, if they are in a colder climate, a lot of people are bringing those in. You have to bring them in, but there's a lot more people using them outside. Or
you treat them like a bottle of wine. You enjoyed them all season long.
Yeah.
Like that bottle of wine, then you just put it to the compost bin.
And know that you'll get new ones when the season begins again.
Yeah, because if you don't have the space, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to overwinter.
So make sure that you're putting the work in now so that you have gorgeous plants and flowers next season when gardening begins again. Thank you, Frankie.